Hey there, everybody. Franklin Taggart here, and it is time for the virtual coffee break. Here is my coffee. Grab your beverage and let's chat for just a minute, shall we? Here's what's on my mind. It's just a few days until Halloween, and in one of the conversations that I had today, the question came up about when I was growing up, what was my favorite Halloween costume that I ever had? Well, when I was 4 years old, my mother sewed me a Batman costume. Now, this was the time when Batman with Adam West, with Burt Ward as Robin, and all those wonderful villains were on television, and it was still in the original run. That gives you a little bit of an idea of how long we're talking here. But my mom made me a Batman costume, and Batman was my favorite television show at the time. And I just thought it was way cool that, he fought all the bad guys and generally was, a force for good in the world. And I thought that was pretty cool. So my little 4-year-old self thought that Batman was probably about the best thing in the world to be. And when my mom gave me that costume and I put it on, I remember the feeling of invincibility. And it's interesting that even a 4-year-old can have that kind of a transformative experience just by changing their clothes. Now, one of the things that I learned in that, and of course, reflecting back on it, I don't think I was as aware of it at the time. But putting on that costume made me feel stronger. It made me feel more powerful. It made me feel like that I could do anything. It made me feel like that I could, that I could climb walls, and that I could do big things, right? And it always has struck me as interesting that all that happened to change my thinking was that I put on a costume that shifted my perception of myself. And really, when you're talking about mindset, I don't think that it takes much more than that to really make important shifts in the way that you think about who you are and about what you can do and about what's possible for you. And I think as we get older, I think we do kind of get a little bit jaded about things like that. I know that there have been times in my life when I just looked at all of that and thought it was hogwash. But quite honestly, I look at it now and I think about the way that I felt back then, that when I put on my Batman costume, I was no longer this shy, timid little kid. I was Batman. And all that came along with that, right? So as I work with people to shift mindset, I think one of the things that I always look at is first of all, I don't find any kind of fault with who they are naturally. But the other thing is that I don't want them to be held back by a limited self-perception that is not necessarily, doesn't have to be true, right? So when I'm working with people on developing their perception of themselves to an extraordinarily strong and powerful place, we always start with their gifts, and we always start with the things that matter to them, the things that they care about deeply, and the things that they have a tendency to be the most curious about. Because what I've found is that when we start to explore those things, we really find the legitimate power that person holds. And when they embody that power, it's like putting on a supersuit, right? Now, I know that the cliche has gotten to be pretty widely used, that you've got to find your superpower or your genius or your whatever you want to call it. But honestly, I really feel like that the perception that we have of ourselves is a pretty fluid thing. And a lot of it can be influenced just by the mood that we're in from moment to moment to moment. And a lot of times, all that it takes to shift out of one of those moods, one of those dips, is to just simply think of ourselves differently. Become that person that is the overcomer. Become that person who is the star. Become that person who is confident in their own abilities. Become that person who doesn't hold back and really engages. Become that person that you want to be, and kind of break out of the person that you've been expected to be. I remember when my son Bodhi was also around the same age as I was when I got my Batman costume. I bought him a Batman t-shirt, and I saw the same thing happen for him that had happened for me. It's like when he put that on, he became more powerful and more capable in his own mind. And he felt more invincible, and he felt stronger, and he felt bigger than he was in his little 4-year-old self. We've got some pictures around that they crack me up, because there's one picture of me when I was 4 years old, and it was Halloween, and my mom had just finished sewing my costume, put the costume on, and I had my cape all expanded out. And I looked at, when you look down at my knees, I had Band-Aids on both of my knees, right? And then when Bodhi was 4, we went to the beach, and I had just gotten out of the hospital about a month before, and I was still feeling pretty weak. But Bodhi had on his Batman shirt, and he was just sitting there with his fist in front of his face, and there he was the strongest guy in the whole world. And just seeing that made me feel stronger, right? So I think our thinking shifts in strange and wonderful ways. And sometimes it's as much as putting on a different set of clothes, I think my suit still fits, and whenever I put it on, I have a different feeling about myself when I go out in public and I'm wearing a suit. Now, generally, I do love to wear my flannels and my t-shirts and my jeans. And if I'm on Zoom, you can count on that I'm probably wearing sweats. But if I really want to feel my own sense of power and capability, sometimes all it takes is a simple change of clothes, right? If you're struggling with a challenging mindset about your own capabilities, about your own place in this life, maybe some folks come to me when they are struggling with a sense of dissatisfaction in the path that they've chosen or the path that's chosen them. If any of that kind of stuff is going on, I'm going to encourage you to just take advantage of the free coaching call that I offer called the Best Next Step Call. To schedule yours, it's free, it's 1 hour, and in that time we're just going to be working on figuring out what is your best next step. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling dissatisfied, if you're chomping at the bit to get something done but you don't know where to start, let's schedule an appointment. Go to bit.ly/bestnextstepcall. All one word, no spaces, no dashes, nothing like that, but all one word, bit.ly/bestnextstepcall. As always, I appreciate your time and your attention. Tomorrow we've got a Your Own Best Company episode with Danielle Gardner is going to be coming back for a repeat interview, but this time we're going a little bit in depth into the idea of how business impacts the nervous system. I think you're really going to enjoy that. There are some wonderful insights that she's had in the last few months that they've made a real impact on me, I have to say. And I think that she's really on the verge of a pretty major breakthrough in her own work. And we get to be the glad recipients of that. So Danielle Gardner will be back on Your Own Best Company tomorrow. And then I'll be back with another coffee break on Saturday. Thanks so much for your time and your attention. And I'll see you tomorrow. So long.